I call the... Is the member calling? I call the Honourable Member Catherine Delahanty.
Mr. Speaker.
And I understand that this is a split call.
That's right.
This is a split call, so the member will get a bell, excuse me, with 1 minute to go. Catherine Delahanty, Tēnā
koe, Mr. Speaker, and I'm reluctant to speak before Parakura, Horomia, Honourable, but he's very graciously given me the call. I was wondering if there was going to be anyone else speaking. I think it's interesting. This bill has been described as a tidying up bill. Tidying up, in my experience, is a euphemism for sometimes some of the most profound things that we do. And it's really great that we are getting to third reading, because this is long overdue, and it's a bill that everybody supports, a bill that the Select Committee supported unanimously, and a bill that, for once, there is no dispute on it, apart from the fact that it's taken so long. And I think it's a bill that also symbolises the importance of the role of protest. Often those of us who have stood up and protested against things have been vilified on a regular basis, in fact. But without protest by people like Ngā Pōtiki, the changes do not stay in front of the people who have power and privilege. So it is necessary sometimes to take a line in the sand, literally over these issues, take that stand and be vilified in order to get change. Change happens because the beast of power and the beast of authority, particularly local authority, I have to say, can move very slowly, particularly on issues to do with culture, Te Tiriti o Waitangi, and one of my passions and the Green Party's passions, sewage. It's an important issue, Mr. Speaker. We can put man on the moon, but we cannot deal with the most fundamental issues about how to deal with our own waste. We're great at celebrating our marvellous technological achievements, but we're still pumping a lot of human waste into water. And that, of course, is a profound cultural offence in many places in this country. And in fact, the origins of this bill come from a reclamation that was about that, about wastewater being cited, and about the creation of a cultural offence, which this bill will go a long way to deal with. So I'd like to acknowledge the Select Committee, Te Oroa Flavor, but primarily the Tauranga City Council and Ngā Pōtiki, and primarily Ngā Pōtiki themselves, for their persistent and courageous challenge through protest, through lobbying, and eventually through dialogue and negotiation to get to this point, to deal with what I heard that was laid down a long time ago. And if we're going to find solutions to the issue around sewage and wastewater, we actually need to involve all the parties, particularly those whose land it's on, whose waters are affected, and whose cultural relationships have been trampled on. Because in the experience of the Green Party all over the country, there are iwi and hapu who have for a long time asked us not to cite wastewater pipelines, sewage pipes, wastewater ponds, all the rest of the paraphernalia of our current unsophisticated way of dealing with wastewater on their sacred sites. So this is progress indeed, but it's still an issue that many people around the country who are not in power are struggling to be heard on, because we still have those pipelines, we still have those discharge pipes, we still have those ponds that leach into waterways and rivers. And that's why you'll hear from not only from myself but from many groups around the country, constant calls for a more modern approach towards this very fundamental issue of human waste. And this bill is about saying that it's no longer acceptable to ignore the views of tangata whenua. So it's a treaty issue, and I'd just like to point out that we often have bills in the House to do with a land settlement. We have Te Tiriti o Waitangi bills. In fact, I've heard it eloquently said in this House that we should have Treaty o Waitangi days, where we deal with those. But actually, Te Tiriti o Waitangi, which lives on well beyond the end of settlement, is about all of these matters. It is about water, it is about sewage, it is about taonga katoa, it's about all of those things, how we deal with those with honour and respect towards each other. And ultimately, it's about relationships. And what this bill is for us is it's about a relationship that was breached through an abusive practice and an abusive treatment not only of the environment but of the people of the place who have the whakapapa, the ancestral whakapapa to their tūranga waiwai, in terms of the way they were treated and the land was treated, the water was treated. And it's about saying we're not going to do that anymore. Tauranga City Council and Ngā Pōtiki have moved to a new era. and that's something we should support and celebrate. So I commend the bill to the House. Kia ora, Mr Speaker.
Kia ora.
Speaker.
I call the Honourable Parakura Horomia. Tēnā koe,
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker. E whakaaro atu mo te